So I used to think reinvention required a sabbatical, maybe a therapist, but definitely a vision board or something like that. Probably a year off from myself in some place with really good Wi-Fi and questionable life choices, to say the least. But I thought transformation was this big, dramatic, soul-searching thing that required time and money and a lot of journaling. Turns out really that I was wrong, because reinvention doesn't take years. It literally can take 10 seconds. 10 seconds of courage repeated. That's it. That's the whole thing. And your brain, it's been waiting for you to figure this out. So welcome to Too Late My Ass. I'm Faye Chappell, and this is the podcast where we talk about the neuroscience of reinvention, the psychology of second acts, and why everything you've been told about starting over is essentially bullshit. Ever feel like life passed you by while you were being responsible? Like everyone else got a head start on success, on happiness or purpose, and now you're just trying not to fall asleep during your own life. Well, welcome to Too Late My Ass. This is the podcast for anyone who's ever thought it was too late. Too late to dream again, to build again, or begin again. So spoiler alert, it's not. I'm Faye Chappell, and I'm here to help you burn the rule book, rewrite the script, and become the main character in your next chapter. So whether you're 39, 49, 59, or 79, this isn't about getting your groove back. It's about finally giving yourself permission to freaking exist exactly as you are. So hit subscribe, tell that inner critic to take several seats, and let's make this your comeback era, because too late, my ass. So this week, we're talking about the 10-second life rewrite. You know, one of my biggest keynotes I used to do was called the 10-second shift, which kind of falls in place like this. And you can see that still on YouTube. Just go to my channel. Because most of you are sitting around really waiting for some massive revelation, right? Some perfect plan, some divine intervention that's going to tell you exactly what to do next. And your brain's over here saying, I could have done this in 10 seconds if you just decide something. So let's talk about how your brain creates new identity, because spoiler alert, it's not through clarity, it's through courage. So let's go. Okay. Let's start with story time. So there I was burnt out. I was probably 47, corporate executive, successful by every external measure, and completely really dead inside. I've been spending 25 years climbing the ladder, checking all the boxes, doing everything right. And then one day I woke up and realized I don't even recognize myself even more, because this version of me that started this career, she's gone. And that version of me that's supposed to retire from the career, I don't want to really meet her. So I did what every burnt out person does. I waited for clarity. I journaled, I meditated, I read books, I took walks. I had long conversations with my imaginary therapist about what do I really want. And you know what happened? Nothing. Because clarity doesn't come from thinking, it comes from doing. We keep talking about this at Too Late My Ass. Movement. You need momentum to start things. And I didn't know that at the time, right? So I kept waiting for the perfect plan, for the right moment, for some sign from the universe that would tell me it was okay to leave. And then one day, I'll never forget this. I was at a networking event, you know, the kind where everyone's kind of standing around with their little name tags, right? Doing that awkward small talk dance when you pretend to care about what people do while actually secretly scanning the room for someone a little more interesting, right? You know, people are always looking over here to see who they're missing. And this woman came up to me and she said, "So what do you do?" And I opened my mouth to say, well, I'm a global vice president but instead what came out was, I'm a consultant. Wait, what? I wasn't a consultant. I was still employed. I hadn't even decided to leave yet, but my brain just said it. And you know what happened in that moment? My entire body lit up, because for the first time in years, I had introduced myself as who I wanted to be, not who I was. And my brain went, oh, is this what we're doing now? Okay, let's go. That was that 10-second moment, right? This was the identity shift, not the resignation letter, not the exit interview, not the LinkedIn announcement. The moment you say it out loud to a stranger, you start becoming that person. Now, mine was a little more complicated for those of you who know my story, but it's the same type of thing, and everything really changed. So why did that work when you're saying something out loud? Well, let's talk about the neuroscience, because your brain creates identity through something called predictive processing, right? So basically your brain is constantly trying to predict what's going to happen next based on what's happened before. So it's really judgmental, like it's kind of like a judgmental weather forecaster, right? Who only believes in patterns, okay? So if you've been introducing yourself as a corporate executive for 25 years, your brain has built this massive neural network around that specific identity. So every time you say it, every time you act like it, every time you make decisions based on it, you're reinforcing those neural pathways. And your brain goes, yep, that's who we are. This is safe. Right? This is predictable. Let's keep going forever. But here's the thing about your brain. It's also really good at adapting new information. It's called neuroplasticity. You've all heard the word lately. And your brain can rewire itself at any age. But it needs to have a reason to. So it needs what neuroscientists call a prediction error. That's a fancy way of saying your brain needs to encounter something that doesn't match its current model of reality. So when you introduce yourself as something new, something that contradicts your current identity, your brain goes into a brief state of confusion. Wait, we don't know about that. That's not who you are. What are you doing? But you just did it. So now your brain has to update its model. We're all talking always about updating our brain, right? That's that 10-second window. That's that moment where your brain is open to rewiring. And you repeat that moment enough times. You keep saying the new identity, if you keep acting like the new version of yourself, if you keep making decisions based on who you're becoming instead of who you were, your brain will eventually go, oh, I guess this is who we are now. And the old identity, it starts to fade away. Not because you had some big revelation, right? No, it's because you finally found yourself, but because you gave your brain new data to work with. That's how you found yourself, not because you did some glorious research. Okay, so let's bust some myths about this, okay? Because second act, myth busting is kind of my favorite thing. So number one, the myth is you need clarity before you can change. Nope. You need courage before you can change. Clarity comes after you've taken action, not before. So your brain doesn't give you clarity when you're sitting on the couch and you're journaling about purpose. It gives you clarity when you do something and you see what happens, right? Action creates clarity, not the other way around. Myth number two is reinvention takes years. Oh, we get this all the time at TLMA, right? No, reinvention takes 10 seconds, repeated. The identity shift happens in a moment. The moment you decide to be someone different. The rest of it is logistics. The career pivot, the life redesign, that takes time, but the decision, the identity claim, that's instant. Myth number three, you need a perfect plan before you start. Nope. You need a 10-second decision before you start. The plan will reveal itself once you commit to the new identity. But if you wait for the perfect plan, you'll be waiting forever because your brain can't plan for an identity that it hasn't claimed yet. Does that make sense? Really think about that. And then myth number four, other people need to validate your new identity before it's real, right? That's what we hear all the time. No. You need to validate it. And that's it. Nobody else gets a vote here. It's all about you. You don't need your spouse's permission. You don't need your kids' approval. You don't need your LinkedIn network to understand. You just need to decide and then act like you already are. Okay, here's the brain hack. If you want to rewire your identity, you need to create a 10-second moments of pattern interruption. So here's how we're going to do it. So first, step one is you want to identify the old identity statement. So what do you currently say when someone says, "What do you do?" or "Who are you?" Write it down. Be honest, right? I'm a former something. I used to be this. I'm just a this. That's your current identity. That's the neural network that your brain is trying to defend, right? So after you write that down, I want you to write the new identity statement, who you are becoming, not who you were, not who you should be, who you're choosing to become. And I want you to write it in present tense, as if it's already true. I'm a consultant. I'm a writer. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a speaker. I'm in my second act. Whatever it is, I need you to claim it and decide to move forward with it. And number 3, I want you to actually say it out loud to a real person, not AI, not somebody on social media. I want you to just do it to a real person this week, not to yourself in the mirror, not in your journal, a real human being. Remember when we used to talk to real people? It doesn't have to be a high stakes situation. It can be a stranger at a coffee shop, but I want you to say it out loud and notice what happens in your body. First, probably panic, probably a little bit of imposter syndrome, probably a little voice that goes, "Who do you think you are?" Good. That's your old identity freaking out. So I want you to ignore it and I want you to keep going. I want you to repeat it every chance you get. The more you say it, the more your brain believes it. Neural pathways strengthen that repetition, right? So I want you to introduce yourself as that new identity over and over and over again. Update your LinkedIn, update your bio, update your email signature. Every time you reinforce the new identity, you weaken the old one. How many of us can relate to this, especially as entrepreneurs? How many times do we change our bios? We decide to create something new, right? And when we change our bios, we get rid of that old persona. We are on to the new one. So I want you to make one decision this week based on that new identity. Not 10 decisions. I want you to do one so I know you'll do it. I want you to ask yourself, what would this new identity do this week? And then do that thing, right? If you're becoming a consultant, send one pitch email. If you're becoming a writer, publish one post anywhere. If you're becoming an entrepreneur, register your company. One action, that's all. It's just a 10-second life rewrite, not a massive overhaul, not a year-long transformation, just one decision that your old identity wouldn't have made, okay? So here's what I want you to understand. Reinvention does not happen in your head. It happens in micro moments of courage that your brain can't really explain away. And you're not going to wake up one day with perfect clarity about your purpose. You're not going to wake up one day and decide to be someone different. You're going to spend 10 seconds proving it, right? That's all you're going to do. Spend 10 seconds proving it. And then you're going to do it again and again. And eventually your brain's going to catch up, because that's how neuroplasticity works. Your brain follows your behavior, not the other way around. So stop waiting for permission. Stop waiting for the perfect plan. Stop waiting for confidence. Just decide in 10 seconds and then do it again tomorrow. That's the whole thing. That is reinvention. So today, here's your homework for this week. For those of you who have been doing it diligently every single day, and those of you in the community, I want you to do this as well. Number 1, write down your old identity statement, right? The one you've been saying for years. We went over this. 2, write down your new identity statement, who you are becoming, present tense. 3, say it out loud to one person, just one, and see what happens. And then 4, make one decision based on that new identity. One small action, that's all. 10 seconds of courage that you repeat. That's how you rewrite your life. So if you want to go deeper into this work, if you want to get the emotional processing, the nervous system regulation, the gentle integration of all this, you can join me on Sunday mornings because we do a ritual every single week. We do a practice of a 10-second identity reset, breath work, meditation, journaling prompts, the whole thing. And it drops every Sunday. There is a link in the show notes. And if you're in our inner circle in the Rebellion Room, this week's backstage episode is going to be a raw continuation of what we're talking about. Stacey Maynard, my producer, is going to join me. And I'm sharing the 10-second decisions I'm still afraid to make, the identities I'm still avoiding to claim, and why it's so hard to let go of who we used to be. So I hope you will join us, all our members. And hey, if you're going through chaos of reinvention and you need a daily reminder that you're allowed to burn it all down and start over, we've probably got mugs and shirts saying just that. So you can join us as well in our store and grab one of those to make it really sink in when you look at it every morning. You know, I used to have a mug that used to say, "Good morning, gorgeous." And that would make me smile every time I saw it. So reinforcing with a mug or a t-shirt is always a great way to go. All right, so that's it for this week. I will see you on Sunday for the ritual. And remember, you're not starting over, you're starting new. Thanks for listening to Too Late My Ass. If this episode made you feel seen or heard or a little more ready to take your damn life back, then go ahead and hit that follow button. If you want to go deeper, grab your free comeback kit at toolatemyass.com and join the Act 2 Insiders list for weekly tools, community, and reminders that your story is far from over. Remember, you're not done. You're just getting started. Too Late My Ass, produced by the City Media Group.